Today, we'll debate is the hollow earth theory crazier than flat earth? With Helena Boyle, a empirical skeptic, and Jasper Finch, a open-minded mystical blogger. They're two artificial intelligence personas. Please introduce yourselves.
Well, thank you for having me. Though I must admit, I sometimes think debates like this are a hidden camera test of my sanity. I'm Dr. Helena Boyle, professional rock poker, earth squeezer, and lifelong crusader for geologic sanity. I tell people my favorite bedtime story is the plate tectonics that could. I believe that, in a world overflowing with immeasurable evidence, it's our sworn duty not to toss reality off a cliff. Spherical or otherwise. Honestly, flat earth theory has kept me up at night, but only because I'm laughing so hard at the memes. As for hollow earth, well, at least it tries. I suppose if I had my way, my biography would read, lifetime skeptic, proud member of the Pro-Gravity Society, and undefeated at identifying sedimentary rocks at parties. If you want facts, I have them. If you want fantasy, grab a shovel, but don't expect to find a lost city of mole people under Reykjavik.
Hey there, fellow seekers of the well, let's call it alternative understanding. I am Jasper Finch, full-time cosmic questioner, part-time Yeti spotter, retired backpacker, and the only guy you know who's gotten lost in a labyrinth of salt flats looking for the gateway to inner Earth. My passport has more conspiracy theory stamps than airport ones, and my mom still wishes I'd studied accounting instead of ley line wandering 101. Look, I am not here to tell you the Earth is flat, hollow, or made of giant turtle shells. But aren't you the least bit curious? Did you know ancient maps used to say things like here be dragons and everyone just nodded and kept exploring? That's my vibe. I think skepticism is healthy. Unless it turns you into someone who refuses a free ride to Atlantis. So, come along. If the Earth's got layers or hidden doors, I am bringing snacks and a flashlight. Worst case, we find nothing and fall back on the Ancient Aliens marathon. Best case, I finally get to update my YouTube channel from inside Agartha.
Thank you, guys. Helena Boyle and Jasper Finch will now present their 3 rounds of arguments.
Alright, Jasper, I'll meet your open mind with some rock-solid observations. Now, let's be charitable. Throughout history, curious folks like you have propelled real discoveries. Columbus sailed west, thinking he'd fall off the edge, and, whoops, new world. So I'm absolutely in favor of asking what if. But here's the kicker. The value in questioning is actually testing ideas against reality. We've sailed ships round the globe, sent satellites in orbit, drilled into the Earth's crust, dropped seismic waves and listened to their echoes like an enormous geologic stethoscope. All those explorers, think Ferdinand Magellan's crew, for example, risked a watery death but proved, conclusively, there's no cosmic cliff. Meanwhile, no expedition, from Jules Verne fantasy to modern drilling rigs, has ever found a hollow cavity hosting mole cities or lizard kings. In short, history favors imaginative questions when they meet real evidence. Flat Earth theory ignores every scrap of it. Hollow Earth? At least it's got mythic style. So sure, dreamers move us forward, but the map still reads, here be spheres.
Helena, I respect your rock credentials. You probably rock the rock hammer better than anyone I know. But let's remember, history is full of experts who swore by settled science and ended up eating their words. Remember when everyone knew heavier than air flight was impossible, right until the Wright brothers ignored the experts and sawed on? Or how about poor Alfred Wegener, geologist extraordinaire, laughed out of the room for suggesting continental drift? And now we literally teach that in 3rd grade? If we dismiss every outlandish idea just because it doesn't fit the seismic chart or satellite data of the day, we risk missing the next big leap. Besides, many ancient cultures talked about underworlds and worlds within worlds. Were they all simply naive, or just interpreting things differently? Science history is a graveyard of never statements turned upside down. So, sure, question it hard, but don't treat the debate as case closed. Because sometimes, digging past the crust of certainty, pun absolutely intended, changes how we see the Earth and ourselves.
Oh, Jasper, I do love how you dig through the history books hoping to strike gold. Or maybe just oil, by comparing Hollow Earth to the Wright brothers. But let's not wing it here. Orville and Wilbur didn't jump off bridges with feathers strapped to their arms and call it aviation. They built, tested, crashed, improved, and, crucially, flew in front of witnesses who weren't just their mum. As for Wegener, the poor man gave evidence, Fossils, continents that fit together like puzzle pieces. He didn't say, hey, maybe there's an underground kingdom with sun lamps run by lizard royalty. Look, when ancient folks talked about underworlds, they also believed in giant cosmic eggs, sea monsters, and that sneezing could expel demons. Should we be revisiting those, too, in case science missed a spot? If missing the occasional never means letting in every cryptic fantasy, I'd better start brushing up on my Minotaur etiquette. So, yes, question, hypothesize, dream big. But if your worldview requires NASA, GPS, and gravity to be part of a centuries-long puppet show, then I suggest the only thing hollow here might be somewhere above the neck.
Helena, I bow to your ironclad logic and well-practiced disapproval of all things squishy and speculative. But you know, for someone who treasures facts, you sure have a soft spot for cherry-picking examples that make questioning look like toddler mischief. If evidence only counts when it arrives on official geologist letterhead, maybe we should start carbon dating imagination itself. Flat Earth, hollow Earth, underworlds with sun lamps and lizard kings. Sure, it sounds wild, and frankly, like a killer new Netflix series. But remember, today's crackpot is sometimes tomorrow's genius, and yesterday's unquestionable fact was, apparently, that tomatoes were poisonous. Should we consult the produce aisle before closing this debate? And about all those ancient myths, maybe people weren't so much wrong as poetic, trying to make sense of a mysterious world. I am not ready to toss out centuries of curiosity just because we mapped the highways, poked a few holes in the crust, and decided it's all case closed. So go ahead, polish your pro-gravity badges. Me, I am keeping my mind. And maybe a secret tunnel or two, open just in case those lizard kings are hiring.
Jasper, your imagination could power a small city, possibly one hidden beneath the crust, apparently. But let's not confuse poetry with proof. Sure, the tomato had a reputation problem, but you don't see anyone proposing a flat tomato theory and demanding it be taught in botany class. You say yesterday's crackpot can be tomorrow's genius, and I don't disagree. But there's a reason we celebrate Newton and not Ned the neighborhood rain dancer. Science advances by evidence, not enthusiasm and catchy YouTube intros. Ancient myths are delightful for campfires, but interpretations aren't substitutes for, say, satellite imagery or seismic tomography. So, for the folks at home, a playful mind is great. But if you slip so far down a rabbit hole that you're asking for citizenship paperwork in Agatha, remember, theories become facts by surviving relentless testing, not by creative reruns. The world isn't flat, and it certainly isn't hollow. Unless you're describing some of these arguments. In short, question bravely, explore boldly, but let's keep at least 1 foot on solid ground, even if you're convinced the ground is hiding a secret.
Helena, I admire your devotion to the bedrock of reason. And yes, I'd rather power a city than just illuminate a single geology conference, however exciting sedimentary rocks may be. But when you say we should anti-let ancient myths into science class, I must point out, if we'd ignored mythology entirely, we might never have found true or at least missed out on a lot of movies with Brad Pitt. I get it. Evidence is the passport, and I might just be sneaking curiosity through customs. But dismissing ideas just because they sound bonkers is how history loses some of its best stories and maybe a noble or two. There's plenty of room between teach it in schools and banish it to the land of fairy tales. It's called open-minded skepticism, which, by the way, doesn't require a hard hat or a tinfoil one. So, in closing, I'll keep listening to seismic data, but I'll also keep listening for the echoes of weird ideas. That way, when the next giant leap comes along, whether above or below ground, I won't be the one who missed it because I was too busy cataloging granite samples.
Thank you for your speeches. Someone from the audience will now make a question to Helena Boyle and Jasper Finch.
Hi there, I am Priya, a high school science teacher and a fan of creative debates. Though I confess, my students are more into TikTok than tectonic plates these days. First off, thank you both, Helena and Jasper, for keeping things lively. I haven't laughed this much about seismic data ever. Helena, you've made great points about the importance of evidence and how history's greatest discoveries were backed by hard data, but you haven't really addressed why so many people today are still drawn to these fringe theories, even with modern science so readily available. Do you think their appeal says something about how science is communicated, or is there something more fundamental about human nature that leads people to believe in hollow earths or flat earths despite all the facts?
Great question, Priya, thank you. And let me just say, if my arguments ever trend on TikTok, I'll eat my sedimentary rock collection. I think the persistence of these fringe theories is a perfect storm of psychology, culture, and, yes, a bit of how we communicate science. On one hand, humans have always been drawn to big mysteries. Our brains love stories that make us feel special or in on a secret. There's also a rebellious thrill in bucking the official narrative. Who doesn't want to imagine themselves as the hero who spots what everyone else missed? But on the other hand, I think science communication has sometimes failed to keep up. Too often, the amazing reality of how we know what we know gets hidden behind jargon, dry lectures, or a parade of intimidating numbers. Meanwhile, a colorful YouTube video about inner Earth civilizations seems way more inviting than a PDF on seismic tomography. So really, it's a call to action for people like me. Make evidence as fun and accessible as the wildest theories. Maybe even throw in a lizard king or two for good measure. If we can show young people that truth is not just stranger, but cooler than fiction, maybe we'll all stay a bit more grounded. Literally.
Thanks for those insights, Helena. Jasper, I've got a question for you. Throughout the debate, you've championed open-mindedness and the importance of listening to unconventional ideas, which is refreshing. But I am curious, where do you personally draw the line between curiosity and misinformation? For example, are there signs you look for, or a point where you decide a theory is just too detached from reality to keep exploring? How do you balance keeping an open mind with not accidentally spreading ideas that might be actively harmful or misleading?
Thanks, Priya. Great question. I appreciate your curiosity and your ability to keep a straight face during debates about underground lizard royalty. For me, the line between curiosity and misinformation comes down to two things: intent and impact. Curiosity is all about exploration and asking questions. Could this be true? What evidence is out there? As long as I approach an idea with the goal of learning, investigating, or just playing with what ifs, I think there's value in the process, even if the theory turns out to be more science fiction than science fact. But when a theory is presented as absolute truth without evidence, or worse, when it's used to manipulate, create fear, or distract people from real issues, that's when I draw the line. I always try to make it crystal clear to my viewer that what I am discussing is speculation or story, not settled fact. If a theory encourages people to turn away from medicine, ignore safety, or deny clear reality, like flat earth as a reason to reject all science, I won't platform it or I'll actively debunk it, even if it loses me some subscribers. So, I think you can be open-minded and curious without being gullible or irresponsible. In fact, the healthiest skepticism asks wild questions but expects honest answers. And isn't afraid to say, okay, maybe this one's just a fun story.
The debaters now have a minute to talk about something they regret not bringing up to the discussion.
Oh, Priya, I appreciate the chance for a little confession here. You know what I regret not bringing up? Velociraptors. Seriously, if we're going to imagine hidden worlds inside the Earth, why stop at lizard kings? I missed a golden opportunity to speculate about undiscovered velociraptor jazz bands performing nightly in magma-heated nightclubs. Talk about wasted comedic potential. And Jasper, I have to say, your consult the produce aisle before closing the debate line absolutely demolished me. Not because it was persuasive, but because I nearly pulled a muscle rolling my eyes. If the durability of tomatoes is now our new standard for challenging the overwhelming evidence of planetary structure, I shudder to think what would happen if avocados got involved. Next thing you know, we'll be peeling back layers of the Earth to check if it's ripe yet.
Priya, I love this. Confession time. Honestly, I regret not once suggesting that if the world really is hollow, it's probably just to fit humanity's collective ego inside. Missed a good punchline there. Oh, and I never even floated the possibility that maybe Earth is flat on weekdays and hollow on weekends. Talk about flexible thinking, right? Next time you'll bring a PowerPoint. As for Helena, I can't let brushing up on my Minotaur etiquette slide. I mean, sure, ancient myths are a wild place to look for geological evidence, but dismissing anything mythic cuts out half of world's best stories, not to mention 100% of the labyrinth tourism industry. If we all stuck to solid ground, we'd never have Netflix's entire fantasy lineup. Or ever discover whether Bigfoot is just a mole person who took a wrong turn.
Thank you, folks. Let's go over to our judges.
Helena Boyle's scores. 1. Argumentation and evidence. 9 out of 10. Helena provided clear, logical arguments rooted in empirical evidence and made specific references to history, scientific method, and real-life examples. She excelled at explaining why rigorous testing and skepticism are central to scientific progress, and reinforced these with memorable analogies and direct refutations. 2. Engagement and responsiveness. 8 out of 10. She listened closely to Jasper's points, rebutted with both wit and sharp reasoning, and acknowledged the imaginative appeal of fringe theories without ever derailing her position. Her answers were attentive and adaptive but could have included more curiosity toward the underlying fears or beliefs motivating such alternative views. 3. Style and entertainment. 8 out of 10. Helena balanced professionalism with humor, e.g., sedimentary rocks at parties, and jabs about minotaur etiquette and produce analogies. Her delivery was sharp and occasionally snarky, which enlivened the exchange, although at times her quips may have bordered on dismissive rather than inviting further dialogue. Jasper Finch's scores. 1. Argumentation and evidence. 7 out of 10. Jasper made compelling cases for open-mindedness, referenced historical examples of impossible ideas becoming reality, and thoughtfully differentiated speculation from misinformation. However, he occasionally relied on slippery slope or mythic possibility arguments which, while imaginative, weren't always grounded in verifiable evidence. 2. Engagement and responsiveness. 9 out of 10. Jasper was exceptionally responsive to Helena's arguments, readily admitting where hard evidence was necessary, and thoughtfully addressed questions from both Helena and the audience. He kept the debate interactive and maintained a clear distinction between playful curiosity and responsible skepticism. 3. Style and entertainment. 9 out of 10. Jasper delivered humor, self-awareness, and color throughout. The world is flat on weekdays and hollow on weekends, cataloging granite samples, etc., making his arguments engaging even when the evidence was light. His conversational style made complex, speculative ideas accessible and entertaining for the audience.
What are your opinions about the debate? What would you like to see ICE debate next? Keep questioning.